This example from the GitHub repository is of the image view functions that allows you with one line of code to do exactly what you're seeing here. To zoom in and out of an image, you can make it full screen. And it's for displaying bitmap data, whether it's something that you might generate in the program, like the Sobel edge image here, or something that you might load as an image from a file. Before looking a little closer at the code, look at the one line of code that brings this utility up within Sagebox with no other setup. So right here is the only line that we need to make this function work. We don't need the exit button at the bottom. That's just for the demo. And that's it. There's no other setup. So when we run it, we get exactly what we saw before. We get this, and this is the only thing we need to make this happen in Sagebox. So in a way, this is the entire demo, but let's look at some source code a little bit closer. Let's look at the version that brings up just a single image for image data that you might want to represent in your program. So if we scroll down to main, we can see that we're using another Sagebox function called getOpenFileName that brings up an OS level dialog box so that we can get the file name from the OS and bring it back into the program. And you can see we're restricting it with our text field here to JPEG, bitmap, PNGs, or image files. And so when we open it, this is our dialog box that we get depending on the OS that we're on. And when we return, we can just blindly load the bitmap because it translates the PNG file or JPEG into a raw bitmap. And if it doesn't exist, we can just use the isValid function to not do anything to the image. So if the user canceled or the file doesn't exist, we handle that separately. So we use another Sagebox function to read in the image file from its JPEG, PNG, or bitmap source. And if it isn't valid, we use some other Sagebox functions to print a message to the user to explain that the image wasn't found or it was canceled by the user. But assuming everything is okay and we've read the file properly, we simply call a Sobel edge map function to create our edge image. And then we just call image view right here. We don't even need this exit button. That's just for the demo. This is the only Sagebox function we need to display this file. We don't have any other setup that we need. The other functions that I used are just to kind of help us with the UI, but they're not needed. We don't really need to use any keywords here, but I use 3 of them. One to set the caption for the image when we display it, and then one to set the font for the caption. I also use the wait for close keyword, which tells the image view function to manage the window until the user specifically closes it. This allows program flow to stop so that we can look at our image data and then tell the program to move on by closing the window ourselves. So now when we run it, we can load this dog image here and convert it to a Sobel edge bitmap. It comes up with a single image instead of before and after because we use the image view function instead. And we can open up the zoom box window, and that comes in handy because we can have multiple windows open. We can have 5, 10, 20 windows open if we want, and the zoom box window will switch in between them. And because this is a powerful set of utilities, we can actually bring up a display that gives us instructions on how to use the image view window for things like zooming in and moving around and opening up the zoom box and that sort of thing. So let's go back to the image view function and the keywords. Let's set the label font from 20 to 50 and run it just to show how we can change the image pretty quickly with just using the keywords. And so now when I run it, you can see that we have the Sobel edge detection result title or caption much larger. I talked about how I use wait for close as a way to get image view to just kind of handle the window for us, to stop program flow while the user is looking at the window. But if we want to manage it ourselves, we can just assign the object that's returned from image view and handle it ourselves. We have a number of functions that we can use. So for example, I can use close event to look for a close event, and that way we can manage the window later. Sagebox takes over the management of the window, so you don't even have to save it. You can just continue on, and when the user closes it, Sagebox will do it automatically for you, or you can manage it with the returned object. Either way, it's a very flexible set of routines, actually. So here we can see the before and after version of the Sobel dog image, where we have the original on the left and the Sobel image on the right. And that's it. That's pretty much the introduction of how we can use some of these functions like image view in one line of code with Sagebox with no prior setup.